Okay, good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to today's news conference. Today we have news to add or a special announcement on a Vancouver man wanted Canada-wide, Cody Casey. We have three speakers today. We have Inspector Phil Hurd of our Organized Crime Section. We have Mr. Max Langlois, the Executive Director of the Bolo program, and Ms. Linda Annis, who is the Executive Director of Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers. So they will each have some speaking notes. I'll ask that you wait for the end for any questions. And if there's anything unrelated to today's new conference, we'll stop here and you can ask questions for me or any one of our speakers if it's unrelated to this conference. So I'll call up Inspector Hurd first.
Thank you. Good morning. On May 1st of this year, the Bolo program announced Canada's top 25 most wanted fugitives. Cody Casey was selected by the Bolo program as Canada's third most wanted person. Mr. Casey is currently wanted by the Vancouver Police Department on Canada-wide arrest warrants for a total of 17 drug and firearms offenses. These charges are the result of two separate Vancouver Police Department investigations. First, on February 16th of 2020, investigators from the Vancouver Police Department executed a search warrant at a downtown Vancouver condo. This suite was found to be a site where toxic drugs were produced, packaged, and readied for trafficking. The substances located in the suite included fentanyl, carfentanil, and a variety of other drugs. In total, over 4 kilograms of fentanyl were seized. Then, in a separate drug investigation, on July 27th of 2020, investigators executed 6 different search warrants at locations across Metro Vancouver. Investigators seized more than 20 kilograms of fentanyl, nearly 10 kilograms of methamphetamine, 3 firearms, a live grenade, and over $300,000 in cash. 3 days later, on July 30th, 2020, Mr. Casey was arrested by the Vancouver Police Department. He was subsequently released on bail with a number of conditions, including the requirement to be subject to electronic monitoring. Over the next year and a half, Mr. Casey's charges proceeded towards trial. Then, on April 10th of 2022, less than 2 weeks before he was set to stand trial, Mr. Casey cut off his ankle bracelet. Investigators believe that he subsequently fled from Canada. However, we believe that there are people in Metro Vancouver who have knowledge of his current whereabouts. Mr. Casey is described as a 36-year-old male, standing 6 feet tall, weighing roughly 200 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. Today, Mr. Max Langlois, Executive Director of the Bolo program, joins us to announce a significant financial reward for information leading to the arrest of Mr. Casey. I want to point out, as the police, we are not looking for your name or for you to testify. We have all the evidence that we need. We are only seeking information that leads to Mr. Casey being located and arrested. If you wish to remain anonymous, we encourage you to report via phone or online to our partners at Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers. And we're pleased to have Executive Director Linda Annis with us here today. Of note, this is the first case that has brought the Vancouver Police Department and the Bolo program together. However, as the Vancouver Police, we recognize the Bolo program to be a well-established organization, having started over 5 years ago when they first partnered with the Toronto Police Service back in 2018. We have seen the Bolo program to be an innovative charitable organization that is adept at leveraging social media, technology, and engagement strategies to encourage the public's participation in being on the lookout for Canada's most wanted. I would like to thank our partners from the Bolo program and Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers for being here with us today and for their shared commitment to making the communities that we serve safer. It is now my pleasure to introduce to you the Executive Director of the Bolo program, Mr. Max Langlois.
Good morning. Thank you for being here. I'm sure the citizens of Vancouver are familiar with the Bolo program. We've been very active and very successful, I shall say, in British Columbia. since 2019, namely working with BCRCMP, CFSU-BC, and IHIT. Yet today's announcement, as mentioned by the inspector, is a very first with the Vancouver Police Department. So I'll just take a few moments to reiterate our mission and core principles. The Bolo program's objective is to encourage citizens to be on the lookout for Canada's most wanted, so citizens can help keep our communities safe by submitting tips to help the police arrest dangerous fugitives. We operate a top 25 of Canada's most wanted, and we amplify priority wanted notices through innovative campaigns using both outdoor and digital advertisement. Our campaigns and rewards are fully funded by a Canadian charitable organization, so they don't cost a dime to police services and taxpayers. All our activities are 100% complementary to police services. We never interfere with police activities or investigations. Finally, we don't collect tips. This is important. That's not our job. Our job is rather to bring citizens to the proper channels to submit their tips. When VPD approached us with the Cody Casey case submission, I was at first a bit skeptical given the drug offenses at stake because we only cover major crime. But when I got to speak with Inspector Hurd and his team, my jaw dropped. I was astonished by the scale of the drug production and drug trafficking operation Mr. Casey was charged for. My immediate reaction was how many people have died from this criminal operation and how many more will have died without the work of VPD. Let me remind you that according to BC Coroner Service, nearly 600 British Columbians died to unregulated drugs in the first 3 months of 2023 alone. And according to the Government of Canada, Government of Canada's health info base, over 34,000 of our fellow citizens died of opioid toxicity between 2016 and 2022. At this point, the opioid crisis our country is facing will soon have made more victims than COVID if nothing concrete is done to bring an end to this nonsense. This public health crisis is entirely man-made. It is fueled by greedy criminals with the most blatant disregard for human life. And while Bolo isn't here to address the root causes of the criminality affecting our communities, we can certainly help make our communities safer by encouraging citizens to be on the lookout. So when the Bolo Program Committee convened in April 2023 to assess and rank case submissions, there was consensus around the table about Mr. Casey being one of the top most wanted fugitives in the country. That explains why he's currently ranked number 3 in our top 25. That is why we're here today. That is why we're here today to activate this case with a campaign and a major reward. In cooperation with Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers, the Bolo program is pleased to offer a reward of up to $100,000 for any information leading to the arrest of Mr. Casey. I want to be clear here. The only condition for this reward to be paid is that your tip leads to the arrest of Mr. Casey. Period. There are no other conditions. Mr. Casey's eventual trial has nothing to do with this reward being paid out. Whoever you are, wherever you are, in Canada or abroad, if your tip is successful, our top priority will be to pay you the reward you deserve. And don't forget, you can even submit your tip anonymously to Crime Stoppers. Note that this reward is only available until November 30th, 2023. So if you have something to say it now. I would like to conclude with a message for Mr. Casey. Mr. Casey, you've been evading arrest for the past 13 months. That's 13 months of looking over your shoulder 24/7, 13 months of not knowing when the police will show up to arrest you. What we're announcing today won't make your life easier. It will make your life harder, significantly harder. As of today, the loyalty of your friends and associates gets tested. As of today, your world gets smaller, significantly smaller. Here's the easiest thing to do as of now: call a lawyer and make arrangements to turn yourself in. Thank you. I'll now let Linda talk to you about the reward.
Good morning. Crime Stoppers is pleased to support the Bolo program in helping create awareness about Canada's most wanted. In fact, Crime Stoppers programs across Canada have worked closely with Bolo on a number of its amplification campaigns to solicit information to encourage members of the public to submit tips anonymously. Today, Metro Vancouver Crime Stoppers is playing a role in the search for Cody Casey, who has eluded custody for 13 months now. Crime Stoppers will issue a reward of up to $100,000 to anyone who anonymously provides us with information that leads the authorities to the arrest of Cody Casey. We simply need any information that will help lead to the arrest. At Crime Stoppers, we fully understand that anyone who might know the whereabouts of a wanted suspect may have reservations about reporting him. They might fear for reprisal if the police learn their identities. Crime Stoppers guarantees anonymity. We do not record phone calls or trap IP addresses. We will never know who your identity is. It's easy to contact Crime Stoppers. You can call 911 or the VPD or RCMP directly, but if you want to report your information anonymously, please don't hesitate to call Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-TIPS. That's 1-800-222-8477. You can also report anonymously through the Crime Stoppers website, www.solvecrime.ca, or using the link on our Facebook page that will take you to our website. And on your smartphone, you can also anonymously submit your tip through a downloadable P3 Crime Stoppers reporting app. We accept tips in 115 languages, and we take tips 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No one submitting anonymous tip information to Crime Stoppers will ever be questioned or called to testify. So we urge anyone with information about Cody Casey or anyone wanted for a crime to call us. Please break the silence. If you see something, say something. By doing so, you'll make our community safer. Please call us if you know anything. Thank you.
Thank you, Inspector Max and Linda. Are there any questions for any of our speakers? Sure.
So he cut his bracelet off in April 2022. What can you tell us about why you think he's left the country when that happened?
I believe that he fled the country shortly after cutting off his ankle bracelet in April of 2022. I believe a big impetus was that it was less than 2 weeks before the trial on all these 17 different very serious charges was about to take place. So that was a motivating factor. And that at the time, Mr. Casey, we believe, fled Canada, but we're very open-minded in terms of where he could be currently. We still believe that he has ties and associates in the Vancouver area, so it's not impossible that he would seek to return to Canada, more specifically Vancouver.
So you don't know what country he's in, no passport use, no idea how he fled the country?
No, at this point, we're casting a very broad net. We've had a number of different investigative avenues that I obviously can't disclose, but we're very open-minded in terms of where he could be and if he's possibly going to seek to relocate to another country or return to Canada.
You're talking about him having associates here. Do you believe Mr. Casey is still involved somehow in drug trade in Canada and just doing it remotely?
That'll definitely form part of the investigation. Ultimately, I'm confident when we do locate him, that we will be looking at his activities, looking to continue the investigation in terms of if his drug trafficking ceased when he fled or if he's continued his operations abroad, as you discussed.
So the $100,000 tip is clearly aimed at people who know where he is, right? And it's just dangling a bit of a carrot stick between.
Absolutely, but I mean, I think there's two kind of broad markets. Definitely, we do believe there's people who are in contact with him that are aware of his current whereabouts. But in addition, someone who's heads up, and we've had experiences before where sometimes people that report unwanted people aren't associated with the person. They're just someone who's very aware and is attuned to media coverage and ends up reporting someone that they believe the police are looking for.
How frustrating was it for police when this guy fled 2 weeks before trial on very serious offenses for a lot of very deadly
Absolutely, very, very frustrating. To bring cases like these forward, to get them to the point of even getting charge approval is, an onerous amount of work, let alone a lot of work that goes into preparing for trial. And so, being prepared to go to trial before the courts on this matter to all of a sudden have Mr. Casey flee was incredibly frustrating. And like you covered off, and Mr. Max Langlois spoke about the charges and the ties specifically to the ongoing opioid crisis are very real and very tangible for investigators, and hence our serious approach and working with our partners to try to find Mr. Casey and bring him back before justice in BC.
Talk about why you think Cody Casey is dangerous and should be considered at the level of people like that.
Absolutely. Well, I think we've seen, the weapons that we talked about. There was three firearms located, a live grenade. 4 of the 17 charges that Mr. Casey is facing are specifically related to firearms and those items that were found. But in addition, the toxicity of the drugs. I think most British Columbians, we see news coverage often. We're all acutely aware of the severity of the opioid crisis in BC, where essentially in our province the opioid crisis is about double the national average. We have about 40 deaths per 100,000 people in our province. And sadly, in Vancouver, that number's about 4 times the national average. We traditionally have about 80 deaths per 100,000 people. So for our province, and moreover for our community in Vancouver, the opioid crisis is a definite top public safety concern.
So, one last question. Do you think he had help?
That's something we're going to definitely look at. If anyone obviously aided a fugitive, supported him, there's definitely charges that can be laid in terms of people that would support someone in absconding from justice. So that's something we'll definitely look at.